Krause. We are all over the place today. Like, literally, I do not know how I'm even going to form words, if I'm being honest.
Go ahead.
It's January 20th, Monday, Inauguration Day. So, honestly, shame on us for leaving the recording to this day. I literally was not thinking. And then I woke up this morning, worked out, and it was like, boom. Like, the news is on all day. I'm watching it. I'm like sitting in the kitchen, like glued to the TV. And here we are at 4 p.m.
I know. And we quite literally, like, I have gotten nothing done on my to-do list.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing done. But I think Kateri and I are both reminding ourselves that this is a very historical moment, no matter who it is. Like, the inauguration is always something really, really important. Mm-hmm. And I'm super happy that we watched it because I feel like this past election was really historical and it's opening up a new era. There's a very exciting energy, I feel like, in America right now about the next 4 years, and I just felt like it was really historical to be there. Like, where were you when you were watching President Trump get inaugurated? You know, that's something that you will read in the history books one day, that our kids will read. So I'm happy that, although it set off our plans, you know, we can dedicate one day of our lives to watching history be made.
Exactly. I'm really trying to talk myself through it so I don't get so in my head of like, okay, I was really amping myself up last night for Monday, completely forgetting about it. Like, really, I went to bed going through like goals. I listened to our podcast about setting goals, and then I was taking time to really go through my goals and like all this stuff and for the next day. But honestly, while I was waiting for Isabel to join the stream, I wrote my to-do list for tomorrow so I can feel a little bit more productive. And yeah, I'm not calling today a wash because I still got some things done, but it's also, I just need to move on and get this freaking episode done so that we have an episode for you guys to listen to and we can move on from this.
We apologize if our thoughts are a little bit scattered. They're coming from left field. I think Kateri and I's brain is sort of in a political hole right now, at least for me. Like, everything that I'm thinking right now is politics or Twitter. X.
No,
so I literally have no other thoughts forming, so bear with us, but we love what we are about to talk to you about, and I think because we are so passionate about it, it will flow really nicely.
Exactly. This is another lesson that we can learn that, you know, we should have done this earlier than the Monday before the episode, but
I think it also goes to show our listeners that we used to really, really prep for these episodes, and I feel like it took away the authenticity, and something Kateri and I both did, whether we meant to or not, is really take a step back from overly planning and sort of just getting a general idea of what we want to talk about and letting our thoughts flow, because I oftentimes feel like that's when we have the most crisp thoughts, but also the most helpful thoughts that people will benefit from. So
when we plan way too much of the episode, it feels so structured to the point where my words do not come out the way they would if we just have an idea of where we're taking it and then go from there. Obviously, there's some thought that goes into it. We don't just like sit down and be like, what's on your mind today? Let's figure it out. Like, there's a little bit more thought, but yeah, I agreed. I think this allows us to naturally flow and really talk like no one is listening and just with each other. So that's the best part of it.
So I'm going to start off the episode with a quote that's sort of going to set the tone. I think you guys will know what we're talking about as soon as I say it. Doubt kills more dreams than failure ever will. And I think that one is such a sad quote, but it is very true. I feel like there's a lot of dreamers out there who don't even believe that these dreams are possible for them to achieve, and they ultimately never do it, sort of sign away their life on something that they're not even enjoying. And I feel like that's very common in our society today. So that's what we wanted to talk about, was really not letting fear, doubt, or anything hold you back from doing what you want to do. Not only doing what you want to do, but also just like in life, like not letting fear hold you back in general in life. There's so many moments where I think back to even my not childhood, but like my teen years, where I don't think I was as mentally developed. And there were so many moments, like I even think of the example in Cape May. I used to make Dad, Kateri, walk me down to a beach that was like 3 blocks down because I thought the waves were smaller. And I was really, really scared of big waves. And
I was always scared of the waves.
Yeah, I honestly, no, but I like love the ocean and I love being in there, but once I'm in it, but I something about me is like, if there is a big wave coming, like I have to plan where is my exit strategy to get out of the water. Like I start freaking out. I think that comes from just child abuse from the waves. Literally, the one time I got tackled by the wave, and yeah, I was sucked under so much. I actually swallowed so much salt water I couldn't even breathe the next day. But anyway, Dad would have to walk me down to this smaller beach to go in the water, and he would go in the water with me. And I was missing core memories swimming in the water, swimming in the ocean with my cousins, my siblings, all of them having so much fun playing chicken, swimming far out because I let fear stop me. And I know that's a silly example, but it's also like that's how common we let fear get in the way. And I feel like it's such a habit, like, oh no, I'm scared of those waves, I'm gonna do that. And in that instance, I think I should have pushed myself to go in the water to conquer the fear. Exactly. So that's sort of the tone of the episode.
No, and it does sound like a silly reference, but it is so true. I feel like from a young age, when we're younger, we have less fear, but as we get older, and I feel like it really starts to hit in like 7th, 8th grade when you kind of understand more things, and it goes through high school and college. That's when I feel like fear really starts stopping you from doing the things that you want to do. Like when you're young, I think about when we first started skiing, I used to just go straight down the mountain with no fear. I wouldn't even do that now. And I'm 25 years old and I know how to ski. I have way more skill, but when you're younger, you're just fearless. You're just like, yeah, I want to do it, so I'm going to do it. And I feel like we all kind of need to channel that energy more as we get older. Like we need to tap into that little kid mindset of, if there's something I want to do it, I'm just going to go for it, because why wouldn't I? Like that's truly, I feel like what kids think. They're just like, I want that, so I do it. And I feel like watching our nieces and nephews, like we have now 2 nephews, 1 niece, but watching them just do things so fearlessly, I'm like, oh my God, I like having children around us again, because it brings that out more. But to bring it back towards adults and not only children, ideas,
basically, like, kids are elite.
Yeah, kids are elite, and their naiveness makes them even more elite. So anyway, but I really do feel like fear is one of the biggest things and the biggest reasons why people do not live the life that they actually want to live, and why they hold back so much of themselves, whether it is fear of starting a new job, trying a new activity, a new habit, or just fear of speaking your truth, the way you want to speak, the way you want to live. And it can be fear of judgment from other people, fear of just stepping into a world that you don't know yet, and of the unknown. I think it can play a part in everyone's life, and I know it plays a part in my life for sure. But I'm actively trying to eliminate fear, because I know fear really is just about taking a risk. And I think taking risks are the most important things in life. It's like literally how you change your life is from a risk. Yeah. No one gets anywhere in life without taking a risk. Like think about all the successful people. They had to take a risk to get to where they are now. So,
and it was scary for them. You don't think it was scary for them in that moment? Of course it was scary. They're human. Of course it was. And I feel like the key differentiator there between them and sort of someone who's not living the life that they want to live is that they saw the fear, but they did it anyway. And that's what we're really trying to see here is like, we're all going to be scared. We're all going to have fear because we are human, like we just said. But I think fear can be a really great indication of something that you should do. You know, it's obviously applicable in a situation, you know, like if you're being chased down by someone, that fear is not something like, you know, that you should do. But I think normally when I'm scared of something, it means it's the unknown. It means I'm uncomfortable and I don't have the control over the situation. It's outside of my comfort zone. And normally when I'm scared of something, it means I should go do it. And it's such an indication like, okay, this is where you need to push yourself, because that's where change happens. That's where growth happens. That's where you become a better you. That's where the 1% change in the day happens, is in the things that you are scared to do. And I think it's time we all start embracing that and recognizing it. Like, it's okay to be scared, but when you notice fear, know that's when that you have to take action.
Like that's a door waiting for you to enter. Truly it is. And I even think we just talked a whole episode about my new program that I just launched. That was not easy for me to do and be comfortable doing. And I'm not trying to, you know, give myself a pat on the back. I just want to give this as an example. Even the night before, or the day that I was posting that it was coming soon, I was kind of hesitating doing it. Like I was really scared to post it, because I was like, then people know that it's coming, so I have to then launch something. And then when I have access, or when people have access to buy it, one, are people even going to buy it? am I just going to embarrass myself? 2, now people have access to my videos, right? They can watch me anytime. They can hear my voice, watch
They
my
can
work,
judge your body.
judge my body, do all these, like, all these little things started popping up even the night before the first, like, Monday officially started. Like, I was really hesitating on going through with it in a sense, and people had already started buying it. It was this weird fear factor that was trying to hold me back, but luckily I feel like I've done so much work on myself and my mental strength, and I do have very strong people around me to help push me through that fear. But I knew that if I was scared and nervous, it was because something good was about to happen, and this was a part of my journey for a reason. So like Isabel said, when you feel that fear, 1, you can recognize it as, okay, this is something I have to do because I can recognize that I'm scared. And 2, you can see it as a way out of your comfort zone, a way out of where you are right now. We always talk about trying to get to that next phase, that next step, working towards our highest self and getting 1% better every day. That 1% is not going to come by giving into the fear and saying no to everything and not really chasing your dreams because you're too scared. That 1% better happens by taking the small steps, by facing fear and being like, F you, I don't care, I'm going to do it anyway, no matter what that inner voice in my head is trying to tell me. And on the other side of that is that really rewarding feeling that you feel of like, I was scared, but I did it anyway. And this is what I learned. This is what I accomplished. This is where I am now. And now you can take bigger risks. You have bigger goals. You're on to that next step, and you're finally feeling like things kind of fall into place. At least that's what happened for me. Literally after 1 week of the program being live, it was like all of this was supposed to happen. No matter how this turns out, no matter how many sales I get on it, this is a part of the plan in some way. And it felt really, really good. And only gave me more confidence to start planning the next program, literally. Like, it was like that doubt was eliminated, and now I was like, okay, boom, on to the next.
Well, and I think that's what everything you just talked about is, I think, is the most important thing to remember about fear, or when something scares you, is that it doesn't matter what the outcome. Let me start it out with this. You're always going to be scared when you are doing something for the first time, but it's only going to be scary the first time. When you do it and you overcome that hump, it's like, okay, well, now you're more confident now to release a second program. Now you trust in yourself more. Now it's not going to be as much of a halt when you're going to launch it. It's just going to be like something that you do. I think a really important thing about that is that it doesn't matter what the outcome is. Whatever you're scared of, whatever you do, it doesn't matter what the outcome is. If I was scared of the ocean, but I tackled it anyway, it doesn't matter if it drowned me or whatever. At least I tried. At least I know, okay, that fear was valid. I don't know. You will always learn something from taking action on whatever you're scared of, whatever you're doubting, whatever you're fearful of. You will always learn something. Like you said, no one could have bought the program. That would have taught you a great lesson on something that you need to improve in for promos, for maybe video format, for maybe the length of the program. There's always going to be a benefit from taking action and stepping outside of the comfort zone. And the best part is that it's only going to be scary once, but you just have to do it once. That's why we're so scared. That's why we resist the action so much. And that's why I get so sad when people don't chase their dreams because of fear, because I'm like, I know it's scary, but like, it would only be scary in the beginning. Like, if you kept going, you would be way closer to your goals than you thought, but you're letting one fearful situation hold you back. It's a sad realization.
And you only have to, like you said, you only start once. There's only one time when it's your first program, or it's your first podcast episode, or it's your first YouTube video, right? Like, that only happens one time. And then before you know it, we're on our 98th podcast episode, you know? So it's like that first is really only a small portion of the entire goal. And so just taking that first step, it feels super scary, but just know that it happens really quick and it goes really quick. Like, when Isabel and I first launched the podcast and that first episode that went out, you know what's funny is we still get listens on that episode today, and we're like,
I'm like embarrassed. I'm like, who's listening to that?
Like, we go back and listen to it and we're just like, holy shit, that was one so scripted. We were like so structured. Like, okay, Isabel, now you talk, could hear you talk. Like, we took breaks. Like, it really wasn't, because obviously we didn't know what we were doing. Like, we planned out that episode forever. Like, it felt
we were
like,
scared.
Yeah, exactly. And we did it anyway. We were even scared to release it. Like, I think as well, we can both agree that I was really, really nervous. And then all of a sudden it's our most listened to podcast episode. And I'm like, what the heck? So
feel the fear and do it anyway.
Exactly. And even when we go back and we listen to that episode, or we even watch it on YouTube, it doesn't make me upset. It doesn't make me mad that it happened. I'm so grateful for that first episode because, one, it led us to where we are now. And we learned so much from even just that first episode. We've come such a long way. It's kind of crazy how much we've changed in just terms of our recording. Like, as Will said at the beginning, we don't plan out for hours before. We have an idea. We kind of have a general sense of where we want to go, and we just let it flow and let it come out. And I can guarantee Isle probably didn't know we were going to bring up the childhood story of her going into the ocean.
I had not one idea.
Exactly. So it's like all of that led us to here. And I'm just using us as an example because I want to humanize fear as well. I want to give you guys examples of, like, we could have easily let fear stop us from doing this. And now this is literally one of my favorite things that we do every single week. Like, launching an episode every Tuesday is what I look forward to. I cannot wait for people to hear what we have to say. I get excited when people give us feedback. It's like the greatest thing we could have done. And I'm so grateful that fear didn't hold us back. And yes, we had two people to kind of spearhead it and be like, we're doing it anyway, but fear could have easily stopped us. And now we're on the other side of it. And No Sugar is a massive part of our brand. It's growing tremendously with everything Krause and with our brand. And thank God we have it, because now people, when they find us, and maybe they haven't known us for years like a lot of our OG listeners have, but now they have this longer form content that they can get from us and kind of dive into our brains a little bit more, understand us more as people, get more advice from us, all these different things. It's like, literally, thank you, God, for putting this in our life and putting this in our roadmap for where we're going to be, because I'm so grateful for it, So it's, you've got to take the risk. You've got to just face the fear head on to get where you want to go. And then maybe you do start a podcast and then after 5 episodes, you hate it. That's okay too. You know what I mean? Like, that's all right. It doesn't have to always be like a success story.
I think that's the big thing of it. I don't think people know that that's all right. I think people really like feel the fear and don't do it anyway because they're scared of the outcome being a failure. And it's like, it's okay to fail. I feel like I really learned that this past year, because that was hard for me. I'm not a perfectionist. Like, I hate saying that because, like, I know perfectionist, like, I'm not that, but I do expect success in a lot of areas of my life. And this past year, I think I failed a lot. And I learned through failing that, like, wow, I actually was the closest I've ever been to my goals this year. I achieved the most I've ever achieved this year. And the common theme I found was like, well, I learned a lot. How did I learn? Well, I failed a lot. So I think people fear that failure, but it's really like, you want to fail, to be completely honest, because if you're only ever successful, you're not really learning. Even with everything Krause, I think, like, we needed that failure stage of, like, having no growth, because we learned so much from it to be where we are, versus if we had immediate growth, I don't think we would know as much as we know about our audience, about what kind of content works, about anything today, or how social media works. So it's often the failure that teaches you the biggest lesson that will probably get you to your goal. So I find myself these days, like, wanting the failure, because I'm like, well, I need to fail because that's where I'm going to learn. Like, if I'm not failing, like, I'm not learning. And that was just like a side note that I had off of what you said.
It's funny that you just said, like, the most growth and the most you've gotten done in a year is also the time you failed the most. Like, it's because that's how it works. That's, like,
experience is the best teacher.
Exactly.
This is sort of random addition to the episode, but I just want you to remember it because I feel like it's relevant. Don't know if you'll have any thoughts, Kateri, but a lot of people are also scared because of what other people will think. Like, they don't want to post that they're starting a YouTube channel because they're scared of people's opinion on them starting a YouTube channel. Oh, they're never going to be successful. And the big thing there is, like, just don't give a shit what other people think. I know that's easier said than done, but, like, their perception of you is truly not your responsibility. You will never know how they think about you. You will never know what they're truly saying about you. You'll never be able to change that opinion because you're not them. No matter how hard or how much you try to explain yourself to them, they will always have an opinion of you at the end of the day. So, like, why try and control it? Why let that stop you? It's not it stinks because it's like you're letting another person not ruin your life, but like, yeah, take away from the life that you were meant to live. And I even think like it's the opinion of other people that stops us from ultimately fulfilling God's plan. I also think about like, I feel like No Sugar was in God's plan for us at the time that we launched it. Imagine if we felt the fear and didn't do it and missed out on the opportunity God presented to us. I feel like a lot of people are always like, God doesn't have that crazy of a plan in store for me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they sort of blame God, and it's like, well, did you see the opportunities that he was presenting to you? Did you take action on them, or did you let society and the opinion of this demonic world that we're living in take you away from his opportunity? That's really random ramble, but just like sparked in my head because I feel like that's a big reason people are scared, and it's so sad because I think that's what we've really conquered. I'm not gonna lie, I think we've conquered that very, very well, Kateri, of like not giving a shit about what other people think. Like, I don't care how many times I story the No Sugar episode. I don't care if you guys hate the stories. I don't care if you unfollow me because all I post is everything Krause content. That's what I want to post because that's what I'm building. It's my life. I don't care what you think. So
I remember one time, and I've seen this multiple times, there was like a reel or an Instagram swipe, and it was talking about advice from people in different decades of their life, and it was like advice from a 20-year-old, 30, 40, 60, and so on. And the 6-year-old always said, I realized that people cared way less than I thought they did, and I wish I found that out sooner. And it's like, people actually probably care way less than you think. So you create this whole narrative in your mind that people have this big perception of you, or these big opinions on what you're doing, and they actually probably don't care at all. And if they do, like Isabel said, that's none of your business. Like, their perception of you is not your problem. And like Isabel said, I do feel very grateful to be at a point in my life where I really don't care what people think about me. And as long as I am proud of who I am, and I know that I'm doing what God has asked me to do and has placed in my life, like, I'm good. I'm good with myself. And I think that can lead down a whole nother conversation of, if you care so much about what other people think, like, maybe you're not living the life that you're meant to be living. So that can, that can turn into a whole internal thing. Another point that I wanted to make about what you were saying is, God places ideas in your mind as well. So if you have an idea and you're saying, like, I don't think God has these massive plans for me in my life, if you came up with an idea, or like you had a goal in mind, or just like a thought, God placed that there. It is up to you to recognize that and do something with it. If you don't take action on it, God's only going to give you so many attempts at it, before he's like, okay, I understand. You don't want it then. You don't want what I'm trying to give you. And like Isabel said, I really am a big believer that God gave us this idea for No Sugar, and the platform and the idea and everything, and we had to recognize it and seize it while it was there before it slipped and God took away that opportunity, because it was just no longer on the table for us, because our life went down a different path. Like, it was there for a reason. So I think if you're having a lot of ideas, if you have these ideas for a big future for yourself, or whatever it is, career-wise, in your relationships, all of these things, try and recognize it as God's voice in your life. Try and recognize it as his presence, and trying to pull you in the direction where you're supposed to be going. And I feel like if you start looking at it like that, you're probably going to take action quicker than you would if you just thought it was like yourself coming up with these things. I think we give ourselves more credit, but it's really God working in our life more than it is our own minds. But
oh my God, that's a whole nother episode.
Yeah, no,
that's so true though. Is like, everything is God. I even think towards everything Krause, people are like, oh my God, you're doing so good. You guys are growing so much. I'm like, that's God. I swear, no, God's placing our reels on the right algorithm. He's showing them to the right people. That's why they're following us. Like, that is not us. Like, I'm simply taking the action of posting the reel. We're posting the stories, and people are just coming to us, but I know it's God bringing them. I feel like that's the mindset people need to really shift to.
And I feel like half of the ideas, like, even I had just posted this promo video kind of for the program, but it was showing my lifestyle like 4 or 5 years ago, showing me now all these things. And Isabel was on a walk and praying to God, and that idea came to her on the walk, and she was like, Kateri, I swear God gave me this idea, like, this is what you need to do, we have to get this done. So that idea didn't come because I'm like an insane content creator and I'm like, I know how to grow and sell and do all this stuff. Like, that idea came from God, and it was up to us to get the reel done, because God can't edit on CapCut. We can.
We can. And it's funny enough, we took action on it. We made the reel, and it's actually the most successful of all the program reels that we've made.
Exactly.
And
literally.
I think it drove a few random sales too, which were really interesting. Like random people who came across that reel and literally decided to purchase. So it was all a part of God's plan, and he gave me that idea. Honestly, the idea was just to more personalize the reels and really tell your story.
That's kind of like what it was.
But no, that's really weird, honestly, during my prayer. Like I was in the middle of a sentence and that exact reel idea, like the audio, the clips, everything came to me. And I was like, that's really weird. Like I know that was God, because that was not in my mind whatsoever. So
and
it's really...
It was funny because like when Isabel, she sent me a voice memo, obviously with the idea like right away, so she didn't forget it. And I was thinking this whole time before she had sent that, I feel like this promo that I'm doing, I like it, but it doesn't feel personal enough to the point where people are actually learning, why did I do this? Like I'm not just trying to sell you and make a boatload of money. Like I really am passionate about what I'm doing. How can I portray that passion and my why behind this? And I'm still working on that. I still don't have it down pat and like perfect, but it was just kind of crazy of like what I was thinking. Then Isabel sent that and it was just like, you can't help but just like look up and be like, God, wow, thank you, because you really, really were working in both of our minds and like then put us together. Like it's just, it's really crazy when you start looking at everything that way.
So while we're talking about God, I would love to almost move into that topic of conversation on fear, because I think fear and God are very intertwined. Not exactly in the way of like following God means fear. It means following God means you should never have fear. Like one of my friends, I remember I was talking to like my best friend and I was on a walk with him and I like told him something that I was like really scared of happening. I don't even remember what it was. And I just remember he looked at me and was like, it may have been that we were walking at night and I was like scared to be walking alone in Philly at night along the Schuylkill Trail. And I was just like, oh my God, what if we get abducted?
Rightfully so.
Rightfully so. But he said something so interesting to me. He said, oh, I don't fear that. I fear God and God only. I know God's watching over me. So like whatever happens on the Schuylkill Trail, that's his plan in my life. I'm not fearful. I'm not going to go live my life. I mean, I'm not going to not live my life or take the walk with my best friend that I want to walk because I'm scared that something's going to happen. Like, don't you trust in God? Like, what does that say about your trust in God? And I just thought it was such an interesting point he raised, because I was like, you're right. Like, I should be able to take steps in my life that I just trust God to carry me where I need to go. Like, he is not going to, like, he doesn't have ill intent towards you. He doesn't want you to get abducted on the Schuylkill Trail, Isabel. He wants to protect you. And if you're in communication with him and you have a relationship, he's going to protect you. And now I sort of move through everything in my life only God fearing, meaning like, and I say God fearing is because like it does say in the Bible, God is the only being that we should be fearful of because he is all powerful. And that is very true. And I'm not fearful of him, but of course I want to follow him. Fear always obviously establishes that you are disciplined with following. I also think that's it, but whatever. Anyway, is that I am only God fearing. So when I take steps in my life, I don't really fear the outcome anymore, because I'm just like, well, it was God's plan for me. And I think that's a really big thing that people, and it's hard to get down, but that people need to recognize and start either saying it to themselves daily or just incorporating that message. Like, God has a plan for me. This, like, don't be scared. Like, that's just what I tell myself. Whenever I'm scared, I'm like, don't be scared. You're scared of God. You're not scared of anything else.
And I think that going back to the point we made a little bit earlier, I think that's probably why we both don't really care what other people think of us, in a sense, and why we just post whatever we want to post and we consistently share the podcast, share EK, like all of that stuff, because I'm not fearful of other people's opinions because of my relationship with God, and because of that exact statement of, I'm not fearful of anything else. This is part of God's plan for me, and I'm not going to be scared of his plan for me. So I feel like that's maybe how we got to have some of that confidence as well. Like, it doesn't just come from within. I think a lot of that comes from our relationship and how it's grown closer to God. And that's also changing other areas of our life as well. I mean, it's changing every area of our life, but really the confidence I feel like that we have gained over these past 2 years, 3 years has really come from that relationship as well. And being so deep in our relationship with God and understanding that everything that happens is his plan for us has made us more confident to not be so scared of other things and fearful of other people's opinions and what they might say.
Yeah,
Let them
you
talk.
just sparked What?
No, go ahead. I said
Oh, I
let
thought
them
you
talk.
Oh, I thought you said let me talk, and I was like, oh my god, was I mouthing again?
Oh, sorry. That's
Guys, I do
hilarious.
this weird thing where all my friends know this, where if like say Katiri's saying a sentence, I assume the words that are gonna come out of her mouth, and I like
She'll
with
mouth
my
it.
mouth, I'll like
You
mouth
actually
it.
you don't do that really in the podcast.
I know it's interesting because I
Maybe
find
it's-
myself wanting
Maybe
to
it's
finish
because
your
you
thoughts.
can see yourself.
I only look at you though.
Yeah, true. And even when we're
Do
together,
you look at
like,
me when we're recording? Because I only look at you virtual.
I look at you when I'm talking.
Yeah, like when you're actually talking, right?
Yeah, and when you're
Okay.
talking to me, of course. But like, I'll glance at myself too.
Yeah, no,
Just to
yeah,
make
but
sure I'm,
when
like,
I'm talking, I'm
everything's
literally
still
looking
looking
directly at
fine.
you.
And my face isn't wonky.
I know sometimes I like look over at myself and I'm like,
Yeah. I'm like,
Sit up,
"Alright,
Isabel."
Sit up. Put those shoulders back. Like, you're not the
I'm like,
hunchback
look at this
of Notre Dame
mane.
here.
Like, what's going on with the mane here?
You
Okay,
have a
anyway,
collar today.
I
That's
have,
what
yeah, it is a collar, but I'm super cozy.
I
So
know.
I want to add to one more thing. Like, you sparked a thought on that conversation with God Kateri, and it was that if you guys are wondering, like, I don't mean to say this, but I feel like Kateri and I have grown a lot in it, so I'm not saying it in like an ego way, but if you guys are wondering like how we got to that place almost with God, and I still struggle to trust in him. That's the human within us. I tell him all the time, like, you've shown me so many times where I can trust in you. I can't believe I still can't put my faith in you sometimes. And it's not that I'm not putting my faith in him, but it's that like I'm still scared. But anyway, what I'm saying is that the reason for a lot of things, particularly with everything Krause and no sugar, because that's a lot of what I feel is our plan, is I tell God a lot about it. I talk to him very openly about what I want from it, about what I want to achieve, about where I want Kateri and I to go, about what, like, where do I want the end goal to be. I tell him sort of like the plan that I have in my mind, almost so that I can like tell him it, and then if it doesn't go that way, I know that like it's going his way. Do you know what I mean? Like, I tell him the plan in my mind, so then if the actions that are happening in my life aren't exactly aligned, I'm like, I know that was a part of my plan and not his plan. It's sort of how I differentiate, but it also allows me to put my trust in him a lot more, because I'm like, well, I told you, so you know what I want. If what I want is okay and going to better my life, I know that you'll give it to me. You're a very loving God. You're not going to take something away from me that you know I want. But if you don't give it to me, I know it's because you're like, child, you don't want that deep down.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know, but you don't want that. So it just allows me to trust in his plan, because I'm like, you heard it all. Now it's kind of like you do what you're meant to do. And I just like know that whatever happens from here is meant to be.
Exactly.
So I just wanted to add that, because that's a way that I feel like I get in that zone of like trusting him. And not sorry, I'm like rambling. Kateri, you can speak.
No, I mean, like, that could go down a whole different, like, I love that you said that, because I do think it gives more insight as to like you said, how we kind of get there. And Isabel has influenced that upon me of like, give it all to God, like, give everything you want, everything you don't want. If you don't tell him, how is he going to know? And God is all knowing, but there's a deeper connection that happens when you say it anyway, regardless of if it's out loud or in your head during prayer. So I think that's a really, really important thing. And Isabel and I were discussing how we want to continuously bring faith and conversations with God and everything always in this podcast. So it's always sprinkled in every episode, but maybe having a more dedicated one like to this topic, I feel like would be really good. But I think we could also go on a tangent of this for a while. See, this is what I mean. Like, we started this episode being like, who knows where this is going to take us? And then it just flows for almost 40
like
minutes.
That was a great episode. I love every single thing we said. And we, guys, when I tell you, we literally started off telling you we don't have thoughts formed today. Boom. Yeah, we do.
Sometimes we just need to get each other talking too, because we were on FaceTime before this when we were doing our makeup, and holy shit.
Thank God I led with a quote.
No, like, on FaceTime, I was genuinely concerned. I was like, oh my God, like, this is going to be the first time we don't get an episode out. Like, that it's terrible. I'm not going to post it anywhere. I don't want anyone listening. No. And now I don't feel that way. So
yeah, God's plan.
Don't be scared.
We felt the fear. We felt the fear, and we did it anyway. We just started the recording and said flow.
Yeah. No, I was genuinely scared though. So fear does happen to all of us.
Yeah. But
anyway, so I think we can kind of wrap it up. I know that this is always something this isn't going to be something that you just learn how to do and get rid of and then you never experience it again. Fear is always going to happen, and it's going to be in different waves. Maybe you're pregnant and you're having your first baby. That's scary. You're going to be fearful in some way. Maybe you are getting married, you're getting engaged. There's all these different life things that'll happen outside of just goals that are going to make you fearful. but it's learning things now so that you can handle that fear and kind of face it head on in a sense and move through life not letting fear hold you back. I think, like, going back to that quote you started with, fear is never the reason. Wait, what was it?
Doubt kills more dreams than failure ever will.
Yes, exactly, because failure is where you learn. Doubt is where you do nothing, right? And I think nothing comes out of doubt, and failure actually brings more to your life than you probably would have ever received if you let doubt stop you. So I just think this is a really important topic to always kind of think about and always try and work on. And when you sense that fear, when you sense yourself holding your own self back, recognize it and get out of your own way. Have the conversations you need to have with yourself, with someone else, to pull you out of that so you can propel yourself forward.
Yeah. Beautiful. I was going to say more, and I'm like, it's a perfect way to end it. Because you know me, I ramble. Oftentimes when I ramble, I just repeat.
We both ramble, sis. It's not just you, honey. Like, it's literally both of us. Like, we actually have a problem.
But don't you all love it?
Yeah.
Anyway, something that I think you guys should be scared of if you don't do this.
That's a take and a half.
I'm just going to say it. I don't have any creative way to get into it. Really, what we would love for you to do is to subscribe to our YouTube channel, to like this episode, like this podcast, comment on it, comment something you're scared of. I don't know.
We'll help you through it.
Yeah, we'll help you through it.
We can be your counselors.
God, we're giddy today. Interact with us. Follow us on everything Krause on Instagram. Follow us on No Sugar on Instagram. Follow Sculpted with Kateri on Instagram. Follow all of our accounts. Like all of our accounts. Like, save, send every single post, every single reel. Just please interact with us. When you guys interact with us, it helps us grow. And we've been finding that as we grow, we are reaching a certain amount of people that are really appreciating our message and needed to hear it, which is super fulfilling to know that you could be a part of bettering someone's life. Exactly. So make sure you're interacting with us, help us grow and reach the people that are meant to be here with us. Thank you again for listening. We love you all and appreciate your support always.
Yes, exactly what is well said. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. We hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Hope you're having an amazing day so far, an amazing week, and we will see you next time.